had loomed menacingly in the 30 or so years since the Napoleonic Wars. The poverty was caused by a burgeoning population, which was not yet offset by a corresponding growth in the economy. Governments, however, did little to address the social distress which was taken up as a cause by a relatively new political current, socialism, in 1848. The revolutions, therefore, thrust the social question firmly and irrevocably into politics. Any subsequent regime, no matter how conservative or authoritarian, ignored it at its peril. In 1848, however, the question of what to do about poverty would prove to be one of the great nemeses of the liberal revolutionary regimes. The revolutions were also genuinely European, in the sense that they arose across the continent. Even countries such as Britain and Russia that were not directly affected by insurrections were touched by the impact. This European dimension raises the interesting issue of how far Europe, in its historical development, is merely the sum of its different national parts, or how far those parts are linked by common experience, shared problems, and similarities in ideals and aspirations. This question, too, has an important contemporary significance. This book will explore these issues through a narrative of the events of 1848-49, which will draw on eyewitness accounts, memoirs, and a wide range of secondary sources. This is a period of European history that is little explored outside academic texts, yet it is replete with its own drama. Many of the images of European revolution, workers and students on barricades, red flags, tricolours, were present in 1848. The insurrections and their repression brought to centre stage an impressive cast of characters, including Metternich, the architect of the old conservative order, Louis Napoleon Bonaparte, later Napoleon III, who became the French Second Republic's nemesis by trading on his famous uncle's name, Garibaldi, the red-shirted hero of the struggle for Italian unification, Mazzini, the near-religious inspiration behind Italian democratic republicanism, Bismarck, the Machiavellian dark horse of German history, and Radetzky, the wily octogenarian Austrian field marshal who might legitimately have claimed to have been the main saviour of the Habsburg Empire. There are others who are perhaps not household names in the English-speaking world, but are no less the stuff of drama. The Croatian commander Jelačić, the fiery Hungarian revolutionary Kossuth, the bespectacled, inspiring Venetian republican Manin, the French historian and poet Lamartine, who had a flair for the dramatic. The 1848 revolutions present a complex and fascinating story which combines the high politics of diplomacy, state-building and constitution-making with the human tragedy of revolution, war and social misery. Yet at the same time they had their truly uplifting and inspiring moments. 1848 was a revolution of hope as well as despair. Chapter 1. The Forest of Bayonets. Underneath a darkening January sky, a convoy of horse-drawn sledges cut trails across a glowing, snow-covered plain. The procession halted at a barrier. The passengers' passports were inspected by a sergeant, and a grizzled old soldier huddling under an oilskin, his rifle slung heavily over his shoulder, raised the barrier. It was the Russian frontier with Prussia. The sledges crunched once again through the snow. Turning his head, the lead passenger, a man named Alexander Herzen, heard a Cossack wish him a happy journey, the soldier holding the bridle of his own hardy mount, its shaggy coat hanging with icicles. Herzen did not know it then, but he would not see Russia again. It was January 1847, and he was embarking on a European journey accompanied by his wife Natalie, their 3 children, his mother, and 2 nannies. He was a member of the Russian gentry, but also a socialist, escaping the stifling environment of life under Tsar Nicholas I, and eager to learn more about the West, to make comparisons with Russia, and, he hoped in vain, to return with the fruits of his learning. Chapter 1. Part 1. The Europe through which the Herzens were about to journey was a continent on the edge of an uncertain future. Politically, it was dominated by a conservative order. Of the 5 great powers, Austria, Prussia, Russia, France and Britain, only the last 2 had parliaments to temper royal power, but they were far from democratic.